Good evening, everyone. The time is 6:36 p.m. Dr. I'm sorry. Dr. Roach, would you please do the roll call?
Okay, yeah, we cut out. I couldn't.
Hello? She and Joe are having audio problems.
I see.
Internet issues with the internet going in and out.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Farugi?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Francois?
Here.
Mr. Schmidt?
Here.
Mr. Kovacs?
Here, I think.
Okay.
Sounds like ET is here.
Ms.
Commissioner Ford is here.
Okay. Ms. Davenport? Okay.
Okay, we will move on. Hopefully, Ms. Davenport can join us as soon as her connection becomes clearer.
I'm going to actually send her the link as a text message in case she can tap in that way.
Okay. We'll wait then.
Chairwoman, just know that we are experiencing internet issues in our office. We have the technicians coming in tomorrow, but from time to time, Dr. Roach and I will be cut off from all of you.
Okay.
While we're waiting, what we're waiting for, I just have a question. I'm looking at the agenda, and I don't see anything on the agenda let's say, called for new business in case one of us has a question, which I do have a question tonight. But I'm just wondering where it would be on the agenda if we wanted to bring something up that was not discussed previously, just sort of a technical reason or the way things work reason.
Commissioner, a couple of easy locations would be either after either one of my reports, the executive director summary or the executive director's report, or you could do it under the committee reports for negotiations, municipal construction, or safety.
Thank you. I did get that, but we are getting, or I'm
But
getting.
if you want, we for the good of the order topics for any of you board members.
I did get part of that, Joe. I believe myself anyway, getting like four of every 6 words or something like that. You guys are a little jumpy.
I have Commissioner Davenport joining us at 6:40.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice
for all. Thank you. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 231, New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by giving of notice to the Courier News, posting the agenda in the public lobby of this building 48 hours prior to this meeting, delivery of this notice to the Franklin Township Clerk at least 48 hours prior to this meeting, and mailing notice to those persons properly requesting to be mailed notification of meetings at least 48 hours prior to this meeting. Is there a motion to open a meeting for public comments?
Motion to open for public comments.
Is there a
Second.
second? All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I don't see anyone from the public here. In that case, is there a motion to close the meeting for public comments?
So moved.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. You all received the minutes, is that correct? Had a chance to review them? Okay. Are there any questions, any additions to the minutes? In that case, is there a motion to approve the minutes as is?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion's carried. Now, with regard to reports, Executive Director, I'm sorry. Did someone have a question? Your executive project status summary?
Thank you, Chairwoman. For the month of October, our legal services included a lot of work on our rules, rates, and regulations, which we will be doing a presentation of tonight. The Weston Canal rebuild project, the Shirley Avenue pump station project, private collection system owners, regular general meetings, resolutions, many bankruptcy cases to be monitored, and general support. So I would like to give an update on our finance software platform migration project. And before I go into that, I have to say that you know, doing IT work myself as a consultant for 25 years, I've had dozens and dozens and dozens of clients, and I had the opportunity from time to time to work with a finance software migration project on the IT side. Not managing the migration of financial software directly myself, but I handle the networking of it. But one thing I observed through the years is that typically an employee would run into a project like that once in a
Joe, we lost the last 5 minutes of whatever you were saying. There was nothing. It was blank across the screen.
Okay, no, Chairwoman, you did not hear me?
Chairwoman, you're muted.
Now, I want everyone to do what I just did. Please mute your microphones, okay? Thank you.
Okay. Well, Chairwoman, were you able to hear me?
I was able to hear you.
We all can
Okay,
hear
so
you.
April,
Yes.
you may not be able to hear me. So anyway, so what I've observed through the years is an employee in one of these organizations would probably only experience a finance platform migration once in
you're
their
breaking up again.
career. It doesn't happen very often at all. I only ran into it over the 25 years.
All right, the network is pretty bad. You're coming in pieces and patches, and there's really no,
Okay.
we can't follow what you're saying.
So I've already had during the such a migration for many years, and this migration project.
So it sounds like you have two different screens. You're muted on one and where your picture is, and on another one it says FT Sewage Authority, and that one is the one that it looks like that you're using. So it looks like you have two different screens on here. Maybe that's part of the problem.
Joe, maybe you can call in on the phone.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Call in.
Okay, can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I just called in. Okay, as I was saying, a typical employee would only run into a finance platform migration once in their career, and typically finance software does not get migrated, upgraded, or completely changed out, but once every 10, 15 years in accordance with the technology demands at the time. The Franklin Township Sewerage Authority did such a migration recently, as reported in previous meetings. And I will also note that when a finance software platform migration goes bad in private practice, that typically 3 out of 5 organizations go out of business within 5 years. So it's critically important it's done well. Dr. Roach single-handedly managed this migration by herself for her first time, and will probably be her last time. I observed and supervised her. We did forget some things. We did have some bumps in the road. We did have the elbows knocking across the wall a little bit on a few things. But my experience watching these projects, most of them that I've observed went well, not all of them. But in comparison, I have to give Dr. Roach a AA rating on her management of this project that was so critical to our not only our finances but our operation as well. I will also note that I did engage our auditor to do a finance platform audit. So the auditor will, and I'm going to sum this up very simply, that the auditor will come in and do a gauging of our old system and then audit that in comparison to our new system. Now, I know several of you that are on the board are professional project managers that are certainly much more qualified than I am, so I know you can appreciate the value in a finance platform migration, as such as I'm valuing this. So it's not a trivial matter, because it's not just accounts receivable, it's not just accounts payable, but it's all the other accoutrement of our operations, our workflow, our documentation, our approvals, our security, everything. So when next time you see Dr. Roach, please congratulate her on a project well done. Regarding the project itself, a little bit more detail, the Edmonds Phase 1 of this project is actively still in progress, and that will include the project management and the bank reconciliations. The Phase 2 of that, so the Phase 1 is the finance area, and Phase 2 is the utility billing. The training dates for that are tentatively planned for sometime in the next coming month. And then we have a billing go-live date that will be determined and based upon the training outcomes of that phase. Just know, again, I'm going to stress that our auditor will come in and benchmark the old system and audit that in comparison to the new system. If anyone has any questions, now's the time on that. If not, I'll go on to our next project. Okay. The high bay garage is still in yellow because we are in a phase that we still are trying to get approval or a waiver from the DRCC, but we did submit responses to the DRCC with a request for a waiver of the strict adherence to the review standards. And we did, the engineer is preparing a response to the Somerset County Planning Board that includes the technical materials that were developed for the DRCC response that I just mentioned. The Somerset Street Pump Station rehabilitation is going and is in green. The construction has begun. However, in the last month, there was a discovery of an underground concrete encased duct bank. However, I've been told that that will be a minimal cost or delay to the project. The Brookline Avenue area water rehabilitation, which is the cousin project of this, that work has also begun. The sewer main cleaning and pre-lining CCTV inspections have begun, including the manhole grouting of the mainline joints, and the shop drawings were submitted to our office. The Weston Canal Pump Station rebuild project is green. However, let me just stress, just generally speaking, it is kind of in a holding pattern because we are waiting for either the sale of the property to PSCG or the license access agreement from the DEP to our authority. Until one of those two are achieved, we really can't do anything. But I will note that we did hold a meeting on October 23rd, and there are minimal updates from that meeting. Could everybody still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Commerce Drive Pump Station rehab is in green. The contract has been executed and fully returned. There will be a pre-construction meeting scheduled for November 14th at 10:30 a.m. So if any of the commissioners would like to attend that pre-construction meeting, you are welcome. Again, it's November 14th at 10:30 a.m. Shirley Avenue Pump Station Rehab. I'm going to ask that we go into executive session tonight to discuss the appraisal and possibly a subsequent offer letter. That's all to be said on that project. General engineering. The only update is New Brunswick. I ran into the township engineer / director of Department of Public Works. He tells me that the Harrison Towers water meter will be installed and inspected this week or next, and he was highly confident with that summary. I also took that opportunity to explain to him why that water meter is so critical to us relative to the New Brunswick relationship we have. Okay, Chairwoman, if no objections or questions, I'm going to move on to the Executive Director's report. Is that okay, Chairwoman?
That's fine.
Okay. For the month ending on October 31st, 2024, we received checks in the amount of $1,383,572.61, which is significantly above average for that month. Year-to-date collected for this fiscal cycle is $5,514,848.88. We still have an open balance due for non-metered billing of $2,982,908.31. For the month, penalties were generated in the amount of $9,445.17, which is below average. For our expenses, ending as of September 30th, the expenditures for the month were $367,663.49. Year-to-date expenses, $3,499,020.87. I will note that we have spent 25% of our budget, and we are at 42% through our fiscal calendar year. As of September 30th, 2024, our cash position in the category of unrestricted is $1,292,687.58. Under restricted, we have $14,659,753.51, and under designated, we have $4,632,278.58. Gives us a total net cash position of $20,584,719.67. Moving on to my discussion items. For the budget address, the only thing for our last budget, I'll note, is we are still waiting for a certified copy of our budget from the state of New Jersey. Under our audit, all of our final requests have been submitted to the auditor for the fiscal year ended in 2024. Also for that year, all of the census data and post-employment benefits review, Part 1, has been submitted, and Part 2 is in progress. Moving down to land acquisitions, as I noted, PSE&G project, we are waiting for a response to our request for an access license, and that is in progress. And the Shirley Avenue pump station, as I told you, we received an appraisal, and we'll need to discuss that in executive session tonight. I will note that I am revisiting and drafting a formal policy for our staff members who are volunteer firefighters, and we will be having a personnel meeting next week with the Personnel Committee. Moving down to the Franklin Municipality, again, I've been communicating with our Township Manager and his Director of DPW regarding the Harrison Towers water meter that will be installed relatively soon. Under rules, rates, and regulations, tonight I'm going to ask, we are going to present to the board and the public proposed amendments to our rules, rates, and regulations. But I want to stress tonight is only a presentation of them, and I will be asking the board to consider voting on them next month. The reason why I am delaying that vote is I want to give the board members, our professionals, and the public an opportunity to review and comment on them for next month. However, I will also note that the categories of the amendments include the developer's agreement, which solidifies the standard of the agreement, issues that will always be addressed, and putting protections in for the authority. Also being updated in the amendments is the rates that we will charge other organizations for our labor and or our equipment, because they have not been updated in a long time. And the other changes involve how we deal with private collection systems, developments that have their own sewer collection systems, how we deal with them, their standards and requirements to work with us, and what we can or will do in the face of noncompliance. So, Chairwoman, at the end of my report presentation, I would like to ask you to allow me to have CME, our engineer, present those amendments tonight. Moving down, our internal engineering, we had 0 connections for the month of October. We have 1 to date, and we had 6 TRC reviews, 5 of which are projects in progress. All our projects that we have on the project board are moving forward as expected in time, complexity, and expense. Moving down, and just bear with me 1 second. Okay. Under resolutions, tonight's standard resolutions include the payroll, operating expense, general fund, renewal replacement, and escrow. There is no North Track standard resolution for tonight. Under additional resolutions, they include a resolution that authorizes the release of performance surety bond to the B9 Cottontail Owner LLC, a resolution for FTSA declaring its intent to reimburse expenditures for project obligations that involve the Commerce Drive pump station to the New Jersey I Bank. A resolution authorizing, again, the release of performance surety bond or cash to Brett Industrial Canyon, NJ1W02 LLC. A resolution that increases to increase the medical maximum limits and rollover amounts relative to the 2025 IRS guideline for the FTSA employee flexible spending accounts. A resolution that authorizing the purchase of a Taskmaster grinder model TM14032 Delta for $104,950. A resolution acknowledging a list of vendors that will be subject to a blanket purchase order for 1 year. And then the final resolution is memorializing an annual contract with a weather vane that runs from February 24 through January 25. Other items, again, will be the presentation of amendments to the Franklin Township Sewerage Authority rules, rates, and regulations. And then also under operations, we did have an odor control supply issue that was due to the vendor, and that has since been resolved. There was an odor complaint, 1 or more odor complaints because of that, but that's behind us now. I will note that the operations staff did flush 63,000 feet of gravity sewers, and also under CCTV inspections, they completed 1,300 feet of main lines. We're happy also to report that no personal accidents had occurred for the month. And when you find it appropriate, Chairwoman, we'll go into closed section to discuss Shirley Avenue Pump Station project. And that completes my report. Without your objection, Chairwoman, I would like to ask CME to begin presenting a short summary of the amendments. I hope I can do this. Make him a presenter online. Make presenter.
No objection.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I just made Will Korosik a presenter.
Okay. Thank you, Director. Good evening, everyone. So we collaborated with the authority staff, the authority's attorney, on a handful of proposed revisions to the rates, rules, and regulations. We'll touch on each of the proposed revisions briefly tonight, and by all means, please stop us if you have any questions. try and share my screen here. Okay, can everybody see my screen? So the first revision.
You can see the screen, but you really can't read anything because it's extremely small print.
Can you make it bigger?
I'm trying. Is that any better?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
better.
So the
We
first
could also email you this document as well.
Yes, absolutely. So the first revision is in section 3, which summarizes the required steps to apply to connect to the authority's sewage system. Previously, the rules and regs stated that the applicant's required to obtain a will serve letter from the authority to confirm the availability of sewer facilities and capacity for the proposed project. In order to determine if there's sufficient capacity, it really requires a detailed analysis and oftentimes survey data of the downstream conveyance system, which is beyond the stage of this stage of the application process. So proposing to revise this to that the will serve letter will confirm that the subject property is located within the authority's sewer service area, and then it authorizes the applicant to proceed with the submission of a full application for approval of sewage facilities.
Excuse me, Mr. Karosik, 1 second.
Yes.
I'm getting, this is for the executive director. I'm getting a message saying that unless the organizer rejoins, the session will end soon. Is that anything we should be worried about, or?
I don't know. What's it say?
It says the organizer is experiencing technical difficulties. Unless the organizer rejoins, the session will end soon. I don't want him cut off while he's giving his presentation.
I just made you the organizer, so hopefully that signal gets to you. So now you're the organizer.
Okay. It's not going away.
If for some reason the meeting shuts down, I'll have to restart it.
Okay.
Hopefully that's not the case.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so this revision's carried down below here as well. And moving on, there are situations where we believe a capacity analysis should be required, which is highlighted in this next revision. One potential scenario where a capacity analysis is typically required is if an applicant's proposing flow in excess of 8,000 gallons per day, which the DEP classifies as substantial flow. This triggers the authority to certify adequate downstream conveyance capacity in a TWA permit. And so that would be a situation where capacity analysis would typically be required at the cost of the applicant. Next revision, proposed revision, is proposing to increase the minimum initial deposit for construction inspection escrow from $500 to $1,000. As far as we can tell, it has been $500 since the early 2000s, and of course, costs have gone up. Next proposed revision is to relocate this paragraph, which discusses illegal connections such as sump pumps, to a later section that it seems to fit better in, so you'll see it in a bit. Section 8 here is all about the authority's easement standards, and from time to time, residents propose to construct a fence or structure across the authority's easements. And this proposed revision puts a process in place to allow that to happen at the discretion of the authority. And there's an application in Appendix I to go along with this, which we'll see later. Section 9 discusses the approval process for proposed sewer connections. Previously, this was written as a two-part process, and this revision proposes to add an initial phase, which includes the applicant's submission of the required application fee and escrow, which have, of course, always been required, but not clearly spelled out in this section of the rules and regs. Next revision revises the performance bond requirements here in the body of the rules and regs to match what's contained and has always been contained in the developer's agreement. The performance bonds to be an amount equal to 120% rather than 100% of the approved bonding estimate. So section 11 here discusses requirements regarding sewer main extensions. The added paragraph requires that the new sewer main is cleaned and CCTV inspected with the videos provided to the authority and the work witnessed by authority staff.
There you go. All right, let's continue.
I believe I need access again if I'm going to share my screen.
Oh, stand by. Will Karosik, presenter. There you go, bud.
Okay. Okay. So the next revision is within a section that discusses requirements for as-built plans. And this revision requires that cleanouts that are drawn on as-built plans be triangulated to 3 permanent above-ground structures to pinpoint their location. Section 14 discusses prohibited connections, so proposing to relocate that paragraph which discusses sump pumps and other illegal connections to this section, which it seems to fit better in. Section 17 is a new section all about private collection systems. So the first part discusses the responsibilities of private collection systems. The first paragraph here discusses maintaining an updated inventory for all of its sanitary sewage facilities. And we've created an Excel spreadsheet, which we'll share here, with tabs for all the different private collection systems and all of the sewer mains and manholes and any pump stations if they apply. And this inventory also has a maintenance schedule built into it for various maintenance tasks. The second paragraph here discusses monthly reporting of all maintenance issues and new connections using both the aforementioned inventory and then also in conjunction with a monthly report found in Appendix H, which we'll get to later. Second part spells out minimum maintenance requirements for these private systems that are connected to the authority system. And these match the maintenance requirements that are included in the inventory report, which we just had up on the screen. So then same thing here for pump station maintenance. And Part C discusses the authority's right to audit private collection systems in order to monitor for compliance. And then if a private system is non-compliant for an extended period of time, this paragraph discusses that the authority may convert from the standard unit-based billing method to a billing method that's based on flow metering and sampling, which is similar to what the authority does for industrial users. Part D discusses actions that the authority can take if it observes an issue with a private collection system. For example, the authority can step in and perform a repair if needed and then bill the associated costs and expense for that repair. Section 17.2 discusses ownership of private collection systems. The first paragraph here is important to note that by default, the authority will not take ownership of private collection systems. However, in the event that the authority elects to take ownership of private collection system infrastructure, then the authority can assess the following maintenance fees. And there's a paragraph here which discusses maintenance fees for both pump stations and force mains and their associated easements, and then also maintenance fees for gravity sewer systems and manholes. So then the next revision is increasing the minimum required escrow from $500 to $1,000 in the application itself for connection of sewage facilities. This next revision is in section C of the rules and regs, which are the authority's standard specifications. And these two revisions are regarding lateral connections and lateral abandonments. First, in the event of a lateral abandonment, the authority reserves the right to require installation of a cured-in-place point repair to seal off the penetration for the abandoned lateral in order to mitigate future inflow and infiltration. And the second paragraph here is for lateral connections. The authority reserves the right to require the installation of a lateral connection repair to seal the interface between the lateral and the sewer main, again, to mitigate I&I. Next revision is updating the model number for the authority's preferred manhole framing cover. Model number 6545, Campbell Foundry, is now 6548. Next revision reserves the authority's right to require applicants to rehabilitate existing manholes that they're proposing to connect to, of course, depending on the condition of the manhole. These are existing manholes. Then the next proposed revision is updating the preferred interior epoxy coating from Core Coat to Duraplate 6000, both Sherwin-Williams products. Next, we revised the authority's standard details in collaboration with the authority's operations department. Generally speaking, it was carrying over the Section C spec revisions with the updated model numbers, carrying those revisions over to the standard details. And the revisions are noted with revision blocks on these details. So Brian Hack, I believe, will be discussing revisions to the developers agreement next.
Before you move forward, can I ask some questions?
Absolutely.
So this sort of feeds into, I believe, what I had said earlier in the meeting, that I have a question. And so I was wondering about new developments, whether it be commercial or residential or whatever, and whether it's a new development that was residential and it's going to commercial or vice versa. So I was wondering the process of review to see if the flow in the new project fits in with the property where it's now being built. If you're going, let's say, you talked about gallons of flow per day. And if the new process is going from 2,000, the old one was 2,000 gallons, and the old one was, let's say, 7,000 gallons. Does that make a difference, or does it have to go over 8,000 gallons?
So anytime there's a change in use like that, it's reviewed by the engineering department with the authority, reviewed by the operations team, of course. And typically it's more of a concern if they're increasing flow rate, versus if they're decreasing flow rate.
I mean, I'm thinking of something that goes from, let's say, and I don't know if this is realistic, but if it goes from a property that had 10 toilets in it, and now it's going to have 300 or 400 toilets in it, is that considered a big change in the flow?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you guys review it. Whoever reviews it, everybody gets together and reviews it and approves it or disapproves it. Where is the report for the public to see, or for us to see if that project has been approved for that new construction on that new site, or on the old site going to a new, becoming a new site? Where is the report for people to review to see if it was approved?
Yeah, so we coordinate with the township and the planning department with the township in regard to reviewing the proposed sewage facilities. And then that's I believe it ends up being a public report issued by the Township Planning Board. And the Sewage Authority's specific report is part of that.
So when you go to the planning board or the zoning board, whoever it is, this project is being heard in front of, you look at the list of things that have to be submitted by the applicant, and one of those is environmental, one of them is health and safety, one of them is sewage. So under that sewage, it would show what the report is that you guys completed and submitted.
Yeah, I believe that specific report on the website is an engineering report that's submitted by the applicant, which shows the proposed flow, if it's what I believe you're referring to. But then we review the plans, the engineering report, all the submitted documents, and then issue any comments we have to the technical review committee with the township, who then issues a report to the applicant.
So, yeah, you answered part of my question right there by saying that what is on the application on the website for the board, zoning board, or the planning board is the applicant's report, what they're planning on. So that report from the technical review committee, they're the ones, I guess, that have the final say as to whether this is approved or not, or they make those comments back to you. And again, where is the final report that says the flow for this property fits the property, it's okay, or they have to change out the sewer lines, they have to put in new sewer lines because the flow has increased tenfold or something like that?
I do not know if it's posted on the township's website or not, the final report. I will say there are, of course, developers agreements, especially if for any proposed development, which of course comes in front of the Board of Commissioners here.
Well, I would say that, and this isn't a problem for you, I would say in my case, just thinking about this would be a problem for the public. Anybody that wants to review a certain project that's going on, I would think, and this is more posed to the Sewerage Authority people, that where is this report for the public to review to see the results of that review, the results of what has been approved or disapproved for a certain property, a certain project? Good question, huh?
Yes, it is.
That all night.
This is something we could follow up with the township on and see if it is posted publicly through the township and get back to you on.
Yeah, and that's great for you to do that, but I would think that on our end, the Sewerage Authority should have that information. But I would appreciate you following up on that and letting us know, and hopefully you have that information by our next meeting.
Okay.
We can look into that, Commissioner.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Will do.
Okay, with that, I'm just going to go over some of the changes that we made to the standard form developers agreement. Just big picture, big ticket items, not item for item, but technically it's on your screen right now. It's called a capacity allocation and developers on track and off track agreement. The agreement that the authority had before needs some updating and some revisions in certain respects. One of the things that we eliminated was there was a series of check boxes depending on the scenario, but that the agreement fit into But that, in my opinion, and I know Joe had a problem with the check boxes, it created a lot of ambiguity in terms of the interpretation of the agreements. And so we eliminated that and just made it a straight form where there's isn't this menu of items that you can choose from. Another big change that we made was the default is that the authority is no longer going to be taking ownership of private collection systems. That was a decision that was, that was made, that it's probably not something that the authority wants to do. But the standard agreement before had that option. So there was a lot of verbiage in it relative to that issue. We took it all out. There may be, I would suspect, some instances where it may come into play and it might be negotiated, but the default is that the authority will not be taking ownership of a private collection system. So a lot of the language that was in the existing agreement related to that and related to other ancillary issues that we had to eliminate. Finally, we updated the insurance requirements, which were a little out of date, and they needed some revision upwards in terms of the amount of insurance that the developers are supposed to carry, so that the authority is adequately protected from an insurance standpoint. So that's really it with respect to the developers agreement. If anyone has any questions between now and the next meeting, you can certainly feel free to ask once you've had an opportunity to review it. But it was essentially an overhaul of the existing agreement in those areas. The other issue that I'm going to talk about is we added a new appendix to the rates, rules, and regulations. It's Appendix G. And I don't know, Will, you might still have control over there. So Appendix G is a violations and penalties section. This is new. It wasn't in the existing rates, rules, and regulations before. We took a lot of this from what other sewage authorities have done. It's all based on statutory requirements and statutory references. But essentially what it allows for is the authority to cite users for violations of the system. If you're not complying with certain permits, if you're discharging things into the system that shouldn't be discharged into the system. And all these things are designed, and the violations are designed to provide a mechanism to not only, sort of impose a penalty on users, but ensure that whatever the issues were that were causing them to be in violation are going to be rectified. And this Appendix G provides a lot of flexibility to the authority in this regard. It allows for it to use different types of mechanisms in terms of enforcement. The authority can issue a notice of violation. It can issue what's called an administrative consent order. It has the option to go to court and bring a user to court in a superior court action. So there's a lot of flexibility there in terms of getting people into compliance. And if they're not in compliance, there is a series of penalties that can be imposed. And the penalties are based also on a matrix of severity of the violations, so that not all violations are treated the same. It depends on the severity and the magnitude of them. And then at the end of the appendix, there is a table of the various types of violations that the authority may encounter that would be subject to the provisions of this Appendix G. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. It's something that the authority did not have in its rates, rules, and regulations before. We certainly think it's something that's important because it's a mechanism to ensure the safety and the integrity of the system, and make sure that users are doing what they're supposed to do so that the assets of the authority are being protected. So in a nutshell, that's it. If anyone has any questions between now and the next meeting, when you're going to vote on the whole package, please let us know. But those are the highlights.
We also revised Appendix F, which is entitled Prevailing Rates / Cost Estimate. Prevailing rates are utilized for billing for FTSA labor for performing inspection services and potentially for performing repairs. And then the unit-based cost estimating items such as pipe and manholes are utilized for calculating performance guarantee amounts for developer projects. So we updated the prevailing labor rates based on current labor rates, which were provided by the authority. And then we updated the unit cost for the cost estimating item based on recent bid prices received for these various items. Next, we added an Appendix H, which is a monthly report, which you may remember was referenced in Section 17 and is required to be filled out by private system operators and submitted to the authority on a monthly basis, in addition to the inventory form, the spreadsheet. And then lastly, we added a Section I, which is a sewer easement encroachment application, which was also referenced in the body of the rules and regs. And this is where if a resident wants to construct a fence across a FTSA easement, they could submit this application along with a $100 application fee for review by the authority. Any other questions?
So I just want to add to the board, what we have here tonight is a collection of amendments that are in response to numerous problems we inherited from before I came on board, and problems operationally that are presented to Scott and his crew, and then the lack of standardization from the developers agreement to applications to forms, and also problems we anticipate possibly in the very near future, but for long going, from the easement encroachments to pump stations. Some of the things we've ran into were, handshakes and cocktail napkins, or, we couldn't find any documentation. So we began recognizing these issues several years ago. That's when this project started. We slowly started working on it with the developers agreement and then jumped all in on this. This also allows us to recoup costs that were thrown at us due to privately owned systems. So again, all these amendments are to standardize, document, and be able to set standards, expectations, and protect our assets and recoup any any costs or indemnifications that are due to us. And unless it's in the rules, rates, and regulations, it's much harder to act upon it. And I think this concludes our presentation, Chairwoman.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Now we're going to move on to committee reports. Negotiation and Personnel Committee. Is there anything to report?
I will report that the Personnel Committee is meeting with me on Wednesday morning, I believe, next week.
Thank you. What about the Municipal Liaison? Commissioner Francois?
I don't have anything to report.
Thank you. Construction Committee?
I did send out an email, and I noted earlier in the evening that there is a pre-construction meeting. I don't have the report in front of me right now. I think it's November 14th at 10:30 a.m. Will, you may want to confirm that for me.
Yes, that's correct. November 14th at 10:30 a.m.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any safety issues?
None reported this month. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now we'll move on to resolutions. The consent agenda. All the items listed are considered to be of a routine nature, thereby requiring one motion, 1 second for all items. And if any member wishes to remove an item from this consent agenda, please advise me at this time which resolutions need to be handled separately, and they will be addressed and voted on separately. Payroll account, resolution number 1, $216,349.70. Operating expense account, resolution number 2, $2,245,801.38. The general fund account, resolution number 3, $182,265. Renewal and replacement account, resolution number 4, $55,632.50. The escrow account, resolution number 5, $7,774. Is there a motion to adopt that resolution?
I'll move to adopt the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Resolution's adopted. Resolution number 6. Resolution.
Chairwoman Ford, if I may ask everyone, if you could just say your name before you make a motion or second, because I'm actually in my car in the parking lot of the building so that I can be on this call because I couldn't get any reception at all in the building.
Sorry, it was me, Robert Kovacs, that moved it, and I think Arnold Schmidt that Sarny that seconded it.
Thank you, because I just can't see anybody right now.
No worries.
Thank you.
Robert is correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. Resolution number 6, resolution authorizing the release of the performance surety bond posted by B9 Cottontail Owner LLC for project number 2022-12. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
This is Robert Kovacs. I move to adopt the resolution.
Is there a second? Is there a second to adopt the resolution number 6?
Francois, second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 7, the resolution of the Township of Franklin Sewerage Authority declaring its official intent to reimburse expenditures for project costs from the proceeds of debt obligations in connection with its participation in the New Jersey Environmental Infrastructure Trust Financing Program. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
Motion to approve.
This is Robert. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 8, resolution authorizing the release of the performance surety bond and remaining cash deposit posted by Brett Industrial Canyon NJ1W02 LLC for project number 2021-02-CI. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
Robert Kovacs. I move to adopt the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second, Arnie Schmidt.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 9, resolution authorizing the purchase of a Taskmaster grinder model TM14032D from Franklin Miller Incorporated through the North Jersey Wastewater Cooperative Pricing System. Is there a motion to adopt that resolution?
So moved, Francois.
Second, Schmidt.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 10, a resolution memorializing the automatic renewal of an HVAC service and repair maintenance agreement with Weather Vane Service Incorporated. Is there a motion to adopt that resolution?
Robert, I'll move to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second, Francois.
All in
Question,
favor?
question. Is there a monetary value on this?
I have to refer that question to Dr. Roach.
I believe that is part of, it's in the agreement with Weather Vane. They send us an entire contract and they give their hourly rates for the different services that they provide. So it is in the agreement.
So there's not like something that says up to a certain amount, up to $25,000 a year or something like that, or it might be in the contract. We're just not seeing it in the resolution.
That is
No,
correct.
there is no final amount. There's just stated rates for parts and labor.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Is there a motion to, there was a motion to adopt the resolution, is that correct?
Yes, and I think
I had Commissioner Kovacs on the motion and Commissioner Francois on the second. Is that correct?
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
All in
Thank you.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 11, resolution authorizing blanket purchase orders for certain vendors through the Edmunds MCSJ finance system for fiscal year 2025, covering the period of June 1st, 2024 through May 31st, 2025. Is there a motion to adopt that resolution?
Motion to adopt.
This is Robert.
So
I'll second it.
That was Arnie on the first.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 12, resolution authorizing flexible spending account FSA limit increases. Is there a motion to adopt that resolution?
This is Robert. I'll move to adopt the resolution.
Is there a second?
I just have a question on that. How isn't that like a benefit?
Yeah, it's actually the flexible spending account through Benefit Resources, and the IRS has increased the limits that employees could have contributions made pre-tax.
Okay.
And there's
Okay.
no expense to the authority for that. They're just allowing us to do that, but they have to have a document saying so.
I see. All right. I second the resolution.
Good question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Now, is there a motion to go into the executive session?
So move, Francois.
Is there a second?
Schmidt.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion.
Madam Chairwoman, I should say that the reason for the authority going into executive session is to discuss potential litigation items.
Thank you.
Okay. I have us going into executive session at 7:51.